Hey folks, Labruski here, back in a new off the cuff. Today's topic, we are going to be talking about political conversations with friends and family. But before we dive into that, if you could please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. It helps out the channel a whole bunch. And I do always fail to mention that we do have a Discord that you can join. Link to that in the description below. So yeah, let's dive into today's topic. Now, I'm not going to talk about like my political beliefs or what anything like that. Like, I'm not really going to dive into specifics when it comes to politics because, quite frankly, I don't think I'm a good debater or good enough at conversing my thoughts about politics to like persuade anyone's opinion or anything like that. And that's not what I necessarily want to do either. It's I guess if you boil this video down, it more is more about conflict in conversations and how to create an emotional connection when you're having a tough conversation about a certain conflict. So it especially applies to politics, at least for me. And I feel like today politics, U.S. politics, is so polarizing. You really are either on one side of the fence or the other, and there's tends not to be a huge in between. And um, I think when people have political conversations with friends and family members, their goal going into that conversation is to win the debate, right? It's think of it as like you're playing a tennis match. You're just hitting the ball back and forth and hoping the other person slips up and you can claim victory in that debate. But more often than not, you're going to leave that conversation not feeling great about yourself, and the other person's probably not going to feel great about themselves, or you for that matter. I think it's going to create a lot of resentment, and ultimately, it's not a healthy and an effective way to have a tough conversation, especially about politics. I really try to steer clear of talking politics with friends and family members. Even if I agree with them, I tend not to necessarily indulge them or indulge myself in that conversation. I don't know why. I don't know. I like talking about comics and like fun stuff. And I do like politics and I do like history and American history in particular. But most of the time, I'm just like, I just don't want to get into that. And to be quite frank, I don't think I'm knowledgeable enough on a lot of the issues. I probably am, and I'm probably kind of selling myself short a little bit because I do watch a lot of videos and whatnot on politics and try to stay up to date. But I guess I'm not confident in my debating skills, if you will. And like I said before, I don't think necessarily having a political debate with a friend or family member is a effective use of time. Like I said, I think it's just going to create more resentment and anger and whatnot towards the other person. Um, and I think when people engage in political conversations, they need to change that mindset of going into it as a debate and trying to win the conversation, so to speak. I think we need to change that mindset and the goal to just trying to understand where the other person is coming from, right? And that's not necessarily bending the knee and giving in and switching sides, right? It's not like that at all. I think it's important to understand where the other side is coming from, no matter what side of the fence you sit on. Um, because half of Americans, either vote blue or red, so I do think it's important. And I think it's important to create that connection with another person, not, not going into it just trying to win, right? I've had plenty of conversations with friends and whatnot, and people I know about politics and, debating them essentially. But, you know, I I don't think that I'm going to persuade them any differently to vote differently. And I know they're probably not going to persuade me to vote differently. So at the end of the day, what's the point? And that's kind of where I stand on talking about politics in a lot of ways. And most times I just try to avoid it. I have friends that will talk politics, and it's like, dude, I don't care. Okay. Not that I don't care about the issue or anything like that. I don't care about talking about it with you. And maybe that comes off as harsh. I don't know. But um, I do think there is an effective tool. If you do want to talk politics with a friend or a family member, you can use this specific tool to not win the debate, but understand where they're coming from. And that will create that connection. And in return, they may understand where you're coming from. And that should be the goal, just understanding, not winning, not trying to persuade another person to vote differently, this, that, or the other, just understanding. Because I think in this country, there is a lack of understanding where the other side is coming from. And that is where a lot of anger stems from, in my personal belief. And I'd be curious to know if anyone agrees with me. So let me know in the comment section, or if you disagree with me, please let me know, and let me know why. I'd be curious to know. But I recently read this book called Super Communicators, and I'm drawing a blank on the author's name all of a sudden, but if you just look up Super Communicators, it's great. I did a video about it actually too, where I broke down pretty much the entire book and all the points and arguments and whatnot the author was making about communicating. And he had a chapter in there about connecting amid conflict, right? And like I said, it doesn't just have to apply to politics. It can apply to any conflict that you find yourself in. And there's three steps, and it's called looping for understanding, right? So the first step is just asking questions to try to understand where that person is coming from. And once you feel like maybe you have a good understanding of where that person's coming from, why they believe what they believe, you just restate it in your own words, and then you ask. And this is the third step now, right? So second step is restating it in your own words, paraphrasing what you believe they're trying to, or you believe why they believe. I feel like that doesn't make sense at all. Okay, we'll restart that. Looping for understanding. And I could edit this out, but I'm not going to, okay, because it's off the cuff. Okay, looping for understanding. Asking questions, just trying to understand where they're coming from. Second step, restating. Once you think or understand, or think you understand where they're coming from, just restating pretty much what they said. Third step, asking if that's correct. Asking, okay, is this where you're coming from? And if it is, great. Now you have a better understanding of that person. If it's not, then you just repeat. You just loop. You ask questions more, then you restate what they said in your own words, and then ask again until you do find the understanding of where they're coming from. And like I said, I don't think this is necessarily like bending the knee to that person. Um, I think it's just important to understand where other people are coming from, especially in today's world. I just don't think there's enough understanding because everyone's life is so vastly different. Um, Everyone has different cultures they come from, backgrounds, you name it, across the map. And yeah, I think it's important to try to understand people better. And through doing looping for understanding, you will create a bit of an emotional connection with that person because um, you probably did something they have not experienced before when talking about a certain conflict, right? Where you're just asking questions, and I think that's, like I said, I think the ultimate goal is should just be trying to understand where that person is coming from. Maybe I'll do another video talking more about like politics in particular. I don't think I really want to do that because, like I said, I don't think I'm necessarily gonna just sit here and spew out facts or my beliefs or whatever, and I'm gonna persuade people out there to vote a certain way. I don't think I'm that strong of a communicator in some regards. So, yeah, I think that's gonna do it for today's video. Try doing looping for understanding. See if it works for you. It should. You should feel better about yourself after leaving that conversation and also feel more of a connection to that person, even though they do have opposing views to you. You should have a newfound respect and understanding. And I think we need more of that in the world. So give it a try. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good jazz. And we will see you in the next Off the Cuff.